Lars Ulrich's love affair with hard rock began long before Metallica took the stage. Growing up in Copenhagen, a teenage Ulrich was drawn to thunderous beats, raw guitar riffs, and voices that seemed to channel unrest. He scrawled drum fills in his notebook, listened for drum hits over radio static, and pounded away on makeshift kits whenever possible. When he heard his first blistering song, one with distorted guitar, crashing cymbals, and rhythms that didn't politely sit in the background, he felt something quiver in his chest. That was the moment he understood hard rock was more than music. It was an energy, a rebellion, a declaration. He craved intensity, the kind that rattles bones, ignites adrenaline, and stirs something primal. His passion wasn't casual. Ulrich practiced until his arms burned, chased every beat until his ears rang. He devoured records from the earliest pioneers to underground bands pushing the boundaries. Each riff, each drum fill, each visceral vocal line became a benchmark in his mind. He learned what made a hard rock song electrifying: raw emotion, tightly wound energy, and the conviction to not hold back. Even in the early years, he could recognize greatness, not just in technical prowess, but in songs that spoke truth with volume. When others were comfortable with rhythm, Ulrich was chasing the roar. As Lars Ulrich launched Metallica with collaborators in the early 80s, he carried more than ambition. He carried ideals, riffs that bite, drums that punch, and lyrics that dare. He picked apart his favorite hard rock songs to understand what gave them power. Was it the way the drums locked in with the guitars, or how the singer's voice seemed to tear through distortion? These questions shaped his early songwriting philosophy. He didn't want Metallica to just join the hard rock conversation. He wanted it to redefine the conversation's volume, its intensity. Ulrich insisted that each note, each cymbal crash, each downbeat had meaning. In rehearsal rooms and early recording sessions, he pursued clarity even in chaos. The drums needed to be precise, the guitars needed to be fierce. He surrounded himself with musicians who shared that hunger. When choosing bands to open for Metallica or deciding what to play live, he gravitated toward songs that demanded presence. He believed hard rock wasn't just about decibels, it was about the tension between control and abandon. He wanted songs that made listeners lean forward, heart racing. Lars set down rules unwritten but powerful in choosing what he considered best hard rock. First, authenticity, no gimmicks, no empty posturing. If a band looked or sounded like they were chasing trend, Ulrich felt it. Second, raw performance. The live show mattered as much as the studio track. A song might be polished, but unless it held up with grit on stage, it couldn't claim greatness. Third, emotional weight. Violence of sound without soul is hollow. The singer's voice needed to convey something: anger, longing, defiance, something real. He also valued innovation. Riff structures that defied expectations, drumming that surprised, dynamics that played with loud and soft in unexpected ways. He believed in tension and release, moments when the storm of distortion fades into haunting melody only to return. And synergy. Does the song's rhythm, melody, lyrics, and production cohere into something greater than the sum of its parts? Ulrich saw hard rock as architecture built of sound, every instrument a beam, every vocal line a stained glass. If one element fell apart, the building collapsed. Lars' journey through hard rock spans decades, a vast terrain of sound. Starting with 70s blues-infused heavy rock through 80s glam and thrash into 90s grunge and post-rock heaviness and emerging underground acts in the 21st century, he listened to it all. He returned to the classic records, albums that laid foundations, albums whose riffs still echo in his memory. Then he shifted forward, checking out bands in basements, tapes traded between cities, obscure live recordings. For Ulrich, the hunt wasn't nostalgia, it was discovery. He tracked how guitars changed, from thick, warm analog amps to digital precision, yet still striving for texture. He studied drum mic engineering, how room acoustics shape tone. He followed vocal styles: gravel, scream, whisper, roar. He witnessed how bands borrowed, modified, transformed. And throughout, Ulrich kept reevaluating which songs, tracks, performances stood the test of time, not just in influence, but in raw emotional impact. The best hard rock in his book was timeless, even when it was rooted in its moment. Ulrich's definitions for best hard rock were not formed in isolation. His peers, his bandmates, his musical heroes all contributed. He debated with guitarists over whether power chords or open chords carried more weight. He argued with fellow drummers about groove versus blast beat. He listened intently to vocalists about phrasing and delivery. He absorbed their insights. He respected the influence of the audience. Feedback from the crowd taught him what was visceral in live performance. He also looked beyond Metallica, other bands, underground scenes, cross-genre experiments. Sometimes the most thrilling moments came when hard rock intersected with unexpected elements: blues, punk, even classical. That collision often yielded something new, something Ulrich admired. Influence flowed both ways. He shaped the scene and the scene shaped him. Through this community, he refined his own tastes, deepened his criteria, and understood that the best hard rock is communal. The artists, the fans, the energy between them. There are certain tracks that in Ulrich's eyes embody what hard rock can achieve. They are bold statements, opening guitar chords that demand attention, drum fills that feel like heartbeats, vocals that confront you. These songs are not perfect by technical measure always, but they capture intensity, honesty, urgency. For Ulrich, landmark tracks are ones he'd choose to introduce someone to hard rock. Songs that hit, knock you off balance, then pull you back in. He admires tracks with dynamic contrast. Quiet intros turning into sonic assaults, clean guitars washed with reverb giving way to distortion storms, rhythms that shift unexpectedly. He favors drummers who leave space as much as those who fill every moment, bass lines that lock in and then step forward, guitar solos that sing wild, dramatic but expressive, singer's voice torn, unpolished, convincing. These ideal tracks teach, inspire, and endure. For Lars Ulrich, the studio is one thing, the stage is the proving ground. He believes that a hard rock song's true measure is its live performance. Does it ignite a crowd? Does it survive the raw power of amplifiers, sweat, movement, unpredictable acoustics? When Metallica plays, Lars listens not just to the band but to the resonance of the venue, the feedback from the crowd. He seeks that energy exchange where everything becomes more than its parts: sweat, light, distortion, roar. He also pays attention to how songs evolve live. Some tracks flatten out in concert, others grow sharper, fiercer. Ulrich values bands that shift their arrangements, that embrace imperfection as part of the ritual. Sometimes a drum fill gets wild, a guitarist misses a note, but the intensity, the willingness to risk, that's what makes it electric. He holds tight to the belief that a recording captures one moment, but live hard rock is an ongoing conversation between band and audience. Ulrich's passionate pursuit of what's best in hard rock hasn't been without challenge. Taste is subjective, what rouses one listener might repel another. He's been criticized for favoring loudness or spectacle, for being less receptive to subtler or genre-blending elements. Some argue his definition is too rooted in certain eras or styles. Others say he overlooks trends that don't align with his worldview. He wrestles with that. He asks, am I being dogmatic? Am I letting nostalgia blind me? But he also holds that standards matter. If everything is acceptable as long as it declares itself hard rock, then the term loses force. So he embraces tension between being open to innovation and keeping sight of what makes hard rock visceral. Over time, he's adjusted, expanded, recognized more diversity. But he still insists on fire, the essential spark that must burn. As a senior musician, Lars Ulrich is not just a selector of what's best, he is also a mentor, a guide. He has offered younger bands advice to push themselves, to question their comfort zone, to play with conviction. He shares not only praise but critique, pointing out where a riff might be strong but the production weak, or where a performance lacks presence. He hopes to instill in them the same passion that first lit his heart. Ulrich also contributes by curating playlists, by speaking in interviews, by producing or collaborating with others. He preserves the stories behind songs, how they were written, recorded, performed. In passing on that history, he keeps alive not just the sounds but the values, courage, honesty, power. And he watches with satisfaction when a new band takes his criteria not to copy, but to build their own vision of hard rock. That, he knows, is part of what it means to shape a legacy. Looking ahead, Lars sees both challenges and promise. Technology changes how music is made, recorded, shared. Streaming platforms can compress sound, favor shorter attention spans, reward clicks. But Ulrich believes that genuine power in a riff, a drum break, a vocal scream cannot be erased. He looks for bands that harness new tools without losing grit, digital effects that amplify emotion, production that enhances rather than smooths away texture. He envisions hard rock that lives in unexpected crossroads, crosses with world music, experimental soundscapes, electronic inflections, yet still pulses with raw human energy. Ulrich hopes for songs people will listen to in their bedrooms on tiny speakers, but also ones that shake arenas. He wants future generations to ask who demands truth in sound, who refuses to take half measures. For him, the best hard rock will always be about the interplay of power and sincerity. If a young band shows up with fire in their fingers, conviction in their voice, and respect for both tradition and risk, Lars Ulrich is ready to pick them.